Chris Joseph here with DDS. I'm here with our new FX-8 flower infusion machine. We built this machine from the ground up to handle bulk infusion of both ground material for pre-roll production, as well as premium products like snow caps and moon rocks. One of the major issues facing producers today is the inability to bulk infuse pre-roll material due to oversaturation and clumping, which makes it so these materials really can't flow well through their pre-roll equipment. So what we end up seeing is most of these producers are using a needle injection style that you would use on a cartridge filler, which is extremely inefficient, raising a lot of touch points. So what we wanted to do was create a machine that could create a fine mist atomization that we could bulk infuse that pre-roll material ahead of time that could still flow through the existing equipment without requiring any levels of modification. What's really cool about the material that comes out of this machine is once it gets infused, we can still hit the same potency targets that everyone's come to expect with needle injecting, but this stuff is completely dry to the touch. When I wear my rubber gloves and I'm playing with the material after, there's gonna be zero oil staying on my gloves. Since we're atomizing it into such a fine mist, we're actually able to penetrate into the flower substrate rather than it residing on the outside. What that's gonna do is it's gonna prevent oversaturation as well as prevent clumping and snowballing so that when this product comes out, it's still gonna free flow really well, which is what's going to allow that material to go through our rolling equipment. The system's gonna utilize an in-house engineered and designed spray valve technology that's jacketed, as well as the jacketed hose assembly for the feed line and a jacketed tank. This is going to allow operators to use these machines while running oils at still pretty low temperatures to prevent degradation and not have that burnt terpene taste. Some of the major issues faced by current methodologies of bulk infusion outside of oversaturation of the product also include huge risk issues like operator safety. So we noticed a big issue where the atomization of the material leads to the aerosols entering the work environment, which not only coats everything and makes it dirty, but it's also a huge risk factor to the operators themselves. So we see a lot of people wearing Tyvek suits as well as respirators. So we were actually able to create the system to prevent all of those issues. So what we do is we're gonna use a bag system, which we'll get to. That's gonna make it a true batch bag system, which makes it really quick to switch from materials to new material, batch to batch, and keep the machine clean. But it also allows us to pull a vacuum on this system. So since we're pulling vacuum, we're creating a negative pressure inside the drum. And rather than material being able to escape through different seal issues and gaskets, we're actually, at the worst case, gonna bring more air from the outside to the inside, and then pass that through to a filtration system that we've created. That's gonna prevent any issues to the operator safety as well as your work environment. This machine's set up for not just wet infusion, but also dry infusion. So anything wet would be anything oil-based that we would put in our drum here that we can then atomize into the material. But after the fact, we can also do a dry infusion by adding THCA, keef, dry sift, or any other dry product that we can put in, tumble around, and homogenize over top of any product that we've already atomized oil on top of. Creating a homogeneous blend of your product is really going to be a huge issue when trying to do bulk infusion from the beginning. So what happens is you start spraying your material and you end up with these huge wet pockets of material and other areas are completely dry. To prevent that, we've created our own drum design with internal paddles that actually have a helical design to them. So as we're moving product and rotating it side to side, we are actually bringing the product from the back to the front as well. Beyond that, the system takes and rotates the drum clockwise while spraying. And then as the drum comes to a stop, we're actually gonna pause the spray system and reverse the drum and run it counterclockwise. And once we're back up to speed in the counterclockwise direction, we're gonna resume the spray. That's gonna give the ability to infuse this product as homogeneous as possible without any wet areas or dry areas. Spray infusion is inherently gonna get your internal drum very dirty and sticky, which is gonna lead to operators having to clean the drum down every single batch or risk cross-contamination. That's just gonna keep building up and building up. It's gonna be a labor-intensive, time-intensive process. So to avoid all of that, we actually created a bag system where we custom designed these round bottom drum liners that we can stick inside of here. And then what we do is we pull a vacuum on the back end of the bag, and that's gonna vacuum form that bag to the drum itself. To hold the bag in place, we created a quick release mag ring system. So you just pop this ring out that's got magnets embedded into it, put your bag in, fold it over the edge, and then put your ring in. That's gonna lock it in place, so when we go to pull that vacuum, we can really draw that bag into the drum, and it's gonna be able to mirror the helical paddle design that we created, which is gonna facilitate that material rotation we were talking about. Not only does it keep the system clean, it really increases your workflow efficiency by being able to just pop that bag out, put a new one in, and start running another batch. When we first started the development process of this machine, we were using an off-the-shelf spray valve, and we realized it just had huge pitfalls. All of our hosing had to be on the inside of the drum, which was really dirty, as well as the fact that we just couldn't get the heat where we needed it to. So we ended up designing our own spray valve that's gonna be a 316L stainless steel with a high polish all the way down with as little surface crevices as possible, which is gonna make it so we can easily wipe this thing down, as well as quick interchangeable spray heads. So if you want to switch to say just a terpene infusion to add flavor to product, you can just take this spray head out and swap it out. So rather than infusing with oil, we can spray terpenes and atomize at different droplet sizes. The prototype really wasn't the easiest to put the bags in and out. So when we set out with the mag ring system, we wanted to create something really special that made this easier for people. All you do is take your ring out, put your bag in, and put your ring back on. Just like that, we're ready to turn the vacuum on. The FX-8 features a really simplified user interface experience. So to start with, at the top, you're either going to select your wet or your dry add, depending on what infusion process you're doing. And then from there, you only have a few set points, which is going to be your temperature set point and your drum speed. Once you have your set points all good to go, the system really going to walk you through what to do next. So pretty much you turn on your bag vacuum, your system heat, and if you want the light on or off, once you've done everything, the start button will appear and you're good to go. We also created a potency calculator that we included right on this HMI. So we know a lot of the goal with this machine is going to be to hit a certain target goal potency of the product you're creating. So what this is going to allow you to do is put all your inputs from the amount of flour you're adding, the potency of the flour, and then if you're doing a wet, dry, or combo infusion, as well as how much THC is in those concentrates. You can then set your blend between wet and dry. If it's gonna be an 80-20, 50-50, it will then spit out the information of how much oil to add, as well as how much of the dry add you need. And your last thing you set is your target potency of your final product. From there, we can then calculate out how much oil, as well as how much of your dry add to put into the system to create that final. So with the system up to temp, the process is pretty straightforward. We got our bag in, we turn our bag vacuum on. With that bag vacuum on, I can then take and dump in my flour. I then add my oil to the reservoir tank. Close the door and start her up. So now that our batch has been infused, we have 8 pounds of flour here and we put close to 1 liter of oil. You can see this material is completely dry to the touch. No clumping, no snowballing, and absolutely no oil is gonna stick to my gloves when we're running this. As soon as the batch is done, it's as simple as removing the mag ring and pulling your bag out. This bag can now be tied off, sent down the line for processing. Just finished running our batch of infused ground material for pre-roll production. Simply replace the bag. System's up and running and ready to go for another batch. So we're gonna throw in some nugs and start making some snow caps. So we have about 5 pounds of flour in here right now in nugs, and all we gotta do is close our door and we are ready to load up some oil for spraying. So we're gonna add in about 500 grams of distillate, and we're running about a 6% terpene cut. And we have the oil preheated to about 50 degrees Celsius, which is all we're really gonna need to get this to atomize properly. So as you can see, same thing with our ground product. What we end up here is a coating on this flower that really is not thick, and it's going to allow that material to soak in just as fast as we're applying it. So you don't end up with this overly saturated, gooey mess of a nug. It's pretty well penetrated all the way through and extremely consistent. And none of these buds are just gluing themselves together. Everything is still moving around without a problem, even though we just got done dosing in 500 grams of oil. Next part of this process is pretty straightforward. We're gonna add in our dryad material. So we have a nice, even, thin coating of oil over our buds, not sticking together, no clumping. And we're just gonna throw in our dryad, let it tumble around and distribute evenly. So laid out in front of me, we have the ground product that we just infused, as well as the starting product prior to infusion. And what you can see is the materials basically want to act the same way. They flow perfectly as the dry material is same as the wet. And the wet is not that much darker at all than the dry. And the reason for all this is because of how fine we can get that oil mist. And then the same thing can be said over here for the snow caps. This is the starting material and this is the final product here. One of the unique features of this machine is since we can atomize at such a fine particulate size and we can keep the material so dry to the touch, you can actually reach much higher infusion rates than anyone ever thought possible, while still keeping that product able to be rolled through your existing pre-roll equipment, as well as making sure it's still a good smoky experience for the customer. If that product's super saturated just to hit that infusion level, it's not gonna smoke well. No one's gonna want it anyways, just to hit a potency goal. One of the really unique features of these snow caps isn't just the outside presentation, but when you actually start breaking these things open, you're gonna notice they're not a wet, gooey mess on the inside. That's because we can spray at such a fine particulate size that we're evenly saturating the product. This means this product can actually go into a grinder without an issue. So whereas snow caps maybe were reserved for more of a bowl or a bong before, you can actually grind this stuff up no problem and smoke it in a joint. Another really cool thing is the THCA isn't just on the outside and coated for looks. It stays on the product a lot better, and it's actually soaked all the way through down into the stem. So when you start breaking these nugs open, you're gonna notice that THCA, it's pretty much all the way through the product. It's not just residing on the outside, it's actually penetrating through all the way to the stem. To find out more about our brand new FX-8, visit our website or reach out to one of our sales reps today.